I can't believe it. They finally did it. They had the balls to do it. This is my most anticipated house of the year. Whiplash is coming to Halloween Horror Nights 27. Whiplash, the Blumhouse produced Whiplash, is coming to Halloween Horror Nights 27. The Academy Award winning produced Whiplash is coming to Halloween Horror Nights 27. I am so excited about this house. Been waiting to talk about it for so long. We'll do it right after this. Of course, I'm joking. I would have much preferred this in the house than what we got. We'll talk about it after this. Well, everybody out there in your land, it's Chris from AncientLegacy.com with another exciting episode of My Talking Head. Probably not a very exciting episode of My Talking Head. We're gonna be a little bit negative here. We had our last IP announced this morning. Of course, it is the Horrors of Blumhouse. Some people might have called it the Blumhouse of Horrors, or still calling it Blumhouse of Horrors. But of course, this is an IP property that is no secret. I think at this point, everyone kind of knows what's coming. I don't like to divulge things. Even though I know things, I don't like to spoil things for people. But nevertheless, this house has been in the circles amongst some people called the Blumhouse of Horrors. We now know, of course, it's called Horrors of Blumhouse. Whiplash is not featured in the house, although I would have much rather preferred Whiplash to be in this house than anything that we currently have. Let's start off with Hollywood, where, of course, it's getting both coasts here featured in their house. It is Sinister, Happy Death Day, and The Purge. And here in Orlando, we are getting Sinister, Insidious, and The Purge. Okay, so I talked a little bit about The Purge in my Scare Zone video. I am not a fan of this franchise. I just don't like this franchise. I hate the first film. The second film is watchable. The second film is watchable in my opinion. The third film kind of backtracks and goes back to the first film. It is almost borderline unwatchable for me. I have not seen Sinister all the way through. The first Sinister I tried to watch, I could not get through it. There are two Sinister films. I could not finish the first film. I just think it's kind of crappy. Insidious, the first Insidious I actually kind of enjoy. Of course, the first two Insidious films, I believe, are done by James Wan. The first one is definitely done by James Wan, the guy also behind The Conjuring. James Wan, of course, he's kind of the current it thing in terms of horror, and also he's gotten a Hollywood push. He's directing Aquaman, of course, with Jason Momoa coming out next year. He did was it last Fast and the Furious or the Fast and Furious before that? He did one of them. The first Insidious is actually, like I said, I like the first Insidious. Second one, not so much. I did not see the third one, and I'm not looking forward to the fourth one. So it is what it is. Comes down to, I am not a fan of the properties that are being featured in this house. There were so many other opportunities they could have used in terms of properties for this house this year, and I don't know what happened. I know for a fact that The Purge was not supposed to be featured in this house. It was supposed to be something else. Not that the other property I would have been fine with either, because I haven't even seen those films. But The Purge did replace this property, and it was replaced very late in the game. So now I know that this is going to be a very controversial decision because, of course, Orlando does have The Purge coming as a Scare Zone. So we have The Purge, and now we have it featured in a house. How big The Purge is going to be featured in this house, I'm not sure. If I was a betting man, I think we'd get a lot more emphasis on Sinister and Insidious, because those are the bigger, in my opinion, the bigger properties in this, especially Insidious, that are being featured in this house. But I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the properties here. I would have much rather have seen Get Out or Split. I have not seen The Belko Experiment. That's just from this year alone in terms of Blumhouse features. And of course, Hollywood's getting Happy Death Day, which Happy Death Day is not yet released, but it's getting a lot of good buzz out there in the horror community. And the trailer, if you have not seen the trailer actually looks kind of interesting. It's this sort of This girl has to keep reliving the day of her death, which is kind of an interesting premise. So yeah, so I'm not looking forward to this house at all. In terms of the IP properties, even though I hate Saw as well, I'm kind of indifferent to American Horror Story. Ash vs. Evil Dead I'm looking forward to, of course. I'm kind of indifferent to The Shining. The Shining is a fantastic film. It's a fantastically made film, but if you saw my video on The Shining, I kind of... that film was so beaten to death over my head for me in film school that I just don't have the love for it anymore that some people do. And talking to people since that has been released too, getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, I think there's a lot of people that feel kind of the same way, that it's a fantastically made film, but it's not necessarily scary or whatever. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. So yeah, so we have the Horrors of Blumhouse coming out. I want to talk a little bit about Blumhouse, the company themselves. Jason Blum, who runs Blumhouse, is kind of a genius. What he does is he does really micro budgeted films, like really small films, and basically makes these multi-billion-dollar franchises out of them. Their first film, Blumhouse's first foray into production, was Paranormal Activity, the first Paranormal Activity, way a long time ago. That's also another property that I think some people might have wanted to see come to this mashup house, but nevertheless, it is what it is. But that was their first thing. They make these really small films, and these really small films make them a lot of money, a shit ton of money. And The Purge is also a good example of that as well. I mean, these are 3 films that were made for very, very minuscule amount of money, and they make, let's say, because I think I want to say Purge 2, the second Purge, I think that was made for like $4 million. Over the course of its life cycle, it made like over $100 million. That's a fantastic return in terms of its money. So that's what this company does. They specialize in making these micro budgeted films, and a lot of times these films they hit a nerve, and people they run with these franchises and they make them billions of dollars. So I mean, it's a good business model. I mean, when you talk about like horror films specifically, you look at something like like a Freddy vs. Jason, for example. That film probably cost about 20, 30, maybe even $40 million, and was not a gigantic hit at the box office. Like, you had the horror, the people, the diehard fans and stuff like that. It made money, but it wasn't a gigantic monster hit, right? So you have this $40 million movie that is not really making the money or making the return investment for the company. Then you go to somebody like Blumhouse, who's making a horror film for like $4 million or $5 million, and it's making $20 million. I mean, that's a fantastic return investment on a film. That is what they specialize in. And yes, give me one second. They had Whiplash. Whiplash is a Blumhouse produced film. This is an Academy Award winning movie, directed by Damien Chazelle, written by Damien Chazelle, who did La La Land last year. Of course, La La Land won a bunch of Academy Awards. It was also even Best Picture for about a minute and a half. But yeah, they did Whiplash as well. I love Whiplash. It's actually, I might even like it more than La La Land. Damien Chazelle, getting off on another tangent, is kind of he's an interesting character because he does suspense so well. And I want to see this guy do like a full suspense film. Now, Damien Chazelle also, he wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane last year. Also another example of a small, was it last year, 2 years ago? I think it was last year. He wrote that film. So, again, I want to see him I want to see him direct a suspense, a horror or suspense film. It's not going to happen, but, or it might not happen. Who knows? His next film, I think, is about Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin. It's something about the Apollo missions with Ryan Gosling, I believe, is back working with him. But nevertheless, I'm getting off another tangent. I love Whiplash, and Whiplash is another example. Again, a small film, made quite a bit of money, but also has the awards recognition to back it up. So, yes. So the Horrors of Blumhouse. I think I've covered everything that I've wanted to come. Not exactly looking forward to this. Probably, I would suspect this would be on the bottom of my list. I have not given out my list yet. We obviously don't have all the houses yet, but this is the last IP house. We have the originals left to go. It is what it is. Who knows? They could be announcing it right now as I'm doing this video. But yeah, so probably, like I said, I haven't given my ranks and stuff, but it'd probably be down at the bottom, maybe even at the bottom, because I just don't care about the properties that are here. There's going to be people that are going to love this because, like I said, Sinister, Insidious, people love those properties. The Purge, I think, is kind of an acquired taste. I think, you have the diehard fans of that franchise, but then you have people like, it's The Purge. And of course, it's going to be there already this year in a Scare Zone form. So this is going to be very controversial. I don't like the fact that we're, again, getting this sort of, living preview sort of mentality here with Insidious 4. But yeah, so that's about all I'm going to have to say about the Horrors of Blumhouse. I keep wanting to say Blumhouse of Horrors, but it's the Horrors of Blumhouse. It is what it is. They have not officially announced where any of these houses are going to go. So we don't officially know where any of these houses are going to go. This is going to go in the MIB tent. There, I said it. This is going in the MIB tent. I gave you guys a spoiler. Although, if you're watching this, or if you know things about Horror Nights, you probably already know where it's going to go anyway. But there has not been any confirmation of where any of the houses are going. In the past, we've had, people will ask Mike where exactly things are going to go. But Mike that's not his job anymore, so, stop bugging the guy. This is going to go in the MIB tent. You could actually see, over the past week or so, week and a half or so, they've put up a facade of the MIB tent, and it is literally the Blumhouse logo. So, I mean, it's not like, it's not like we're giving away anything here. It is literally the Blumhouse logo. So the Blumhouse is going in the MIB tent, which last year, of course, was the first year for that, and it did not start off with a bang. Maybe this can turn everything around. It's not a 3D house, so that's good. Horrors of Blumhouse. Not a fan. Anyway, guys, watch Whiplash. Go home tonight and watch Whiplash. Watch this movie. It's very good. If you have not seen it, see it. But anyway, I'm out. Talk to you guys later.